Hi, everyone. Welcome. And we're going to give it just another minute or so to give people a chance to get here. But again, in the interest of time, we won't give people too much time to get here.
Ah, there's my sister. She's downstairs.
So now, Bonnie, I'm scanning through everyone trying to decide who here is your sister.
Pat Harris.
That was my guess.
Well, we look alike.
That. Okay, well, I'm again, in the interest of time, I'm inclined to go ahead and dive in, and other folks can join us as they arrive. So for those of you who, so first, welcome to our monthly Mahoosic Way Zoom room. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Mike Wilson. I'm Senior Program Director with the Northern Forest Center, and I'm sitting in for Jesse Perkins, Director of the Bethel Area Chamber, who typically serves as our excellent MC for these discussions, but is busy celebrating an important birthday today. So if you have a moment, and if you run across Jessie today, be sure to wish her a happy birthday. So just from a housekeeping standpoint, again, the ideas will be on the line here for a half an hour till 12:30. During that time, we encourage everyone to stay muted unless we're in a question phase and you have a specific question to ask. We will wrap up promptly at 12:30. And then with the formal program, anyone who's interested in staying on the line for a little additional discussion, we'll keep the line open until 12:45. And again, that becomes a bit more of an informal discussion session. So today's session, again, the Mahoosic Way Zoom rooms is a regular series of community discussions to learn about local activities that support development of a long-term sustainable tourism economy in the Mahoosic region. Each month, we focus on one of 6 foundational sustainable tourism pillars that were developed as part of the Community Destination Academy program that we hosted there in the Bethel area in late 2018, early 2019. Just for reminder's sake, those pillars include community engagement, regional collaboration, the visitor experience, environmental leadership, housing, and workforce development. So today's session is focused on the environmental leadership pillar, and we're pleased to have 2 guests with us. Marcel Pollack from the Woodstock Conservation Commission. It will share the latest on efforts to create a new 634-acre buck sledge community forest on a property that many of you, I expect, are familiar with. It is well known for hiking, snowshoeing, snowmobiling, great views, as you know, excellent ecosystems, and just a really important piece of property that a lot of folks are getting involved with to position as a community forest. And Bonnie Pooley from the Local Food Connection will share some updates and happenings from local farmers and producers, many of whom are increasing opportunities, and all of whom are working hard to feed people and steward their lands. So again, we'll wrap up the formal presentation at 12:30 and continue from there as appropriate. Amy, Isabella, any other housekeeping items that I should touch on?
Just that the meeting is being recorded in case you came on after the notification, just so you know. So we'll be able to share this with others who weren't able to make it today.
Right. Thank you. So I think with that, Marcel, we'll hear from Marcel first, and Marcel will give us about a 10-minute presentation. We'll have a couple minutes for questions from there, and then we'll shift over to Bonnie. So Marcel, the floor is yours.
Okay, I'm starting my timer. I'm Marcel Pollack. I'm a volunteer with the Woodstock Conservation Commission. We're working on behalf of the town of Woodstock to purchase the 634-acre buck sledge as a community forest. It's an extraordinary project that is bringing together the community in ways that I never, ever anticipated. and this is my joy and my pleasure in participating. We are fundraising right now in our quiet phase, and it's going extremely well. And given that we are in a phase of America where we're so divided along political lines, this is something, a project that is unifying the community across whatever political divide we may have here. So on that level, it's extraordinary. You all know Buck's Ledge. It's an iconic view from Route 26. It also has magnificent hiking trails. That same Buck's Ledge that you see from Route 26. You go up to Buck's Ledge and then have magnificent views overlooking North Pond and actually all the way to the Whites. We have a connecting trail to the Woodstock Elementary School. This property also, not only does it have multiple recreational resources, but it also has rare plants, rare community types under Buck's Ledge. It's got everything that you could want in a community forest. Easy accessibility from Route 26. So my specific work right now is working on one of the two major grants that will fund it, and that's the Land for Maine's Future program that has funded so many extraordinary projects throughout Maine. We are conducting the local fundraising. We need to do both in order to raise approximately $850,000 for the purchase price and all the due diligence and the long-term management. We are also engaging right now in management of the property, the management planning of the property to anticipate ultimate ownership by the town of Woodstock. Mahoosic Land Trust will hold a conservation easement, thereby protecting, adding another level of protection to the project that I'm very pleased to be involved with. So I want to give you a little bit of history about conservation in Woodstock. I've lived here, my wife and I, Emily, have lived here since 1979. In the early 1980s, I was involved in a land protection effort that failed miserably. At the head of Lake Christopher, on the way to the 4-H camp, the town owns a very small right-of-way along the road, Lakeside Drive, which is the town beach, one of the town beaches. In the early 80s, there was 3 acres across the road that was available for sale for the grand price of $14,000. And at the time, there was Land and Water Conservation Fund money available, $7,000 that would have matched $7,000 of the town raising to purchase the property. The plan was to reroute the road around the back of the property, thereby providing much more frontage on the lake. I organized a community meeting in which case to get the town to support allocating the $7,000, and it failed miserably. People were very upset about the idea of protecting land for a number of different reasons, including people from away coming to mess it up. And those people from away actually weren't from Massachusetts. They were from Greenwood and Bethel. I was lucky to get out of there without being tarred and feathered. I don't think I'm exaggerating this. So what happened? What happened between then and now, when we're getting not only enormous support from the town, from Vern, the town manager, the select boards in the other communities, businesses across the political divide. It's been 40 years, but a lot has gone on in the meantime. And I want to just share with you some of the few things that I think added to that. Over 30 years ago, one of the first community engagement processes took place. NTL, I worked with NTL and other community leaders to organize a community conference to determine what it was we needed to do in the Bethel area that wasn't being done by government. And that first community engagement process led to the development of Mahoosic Arts Council, Mahoosic Land Trust, and a number of other organizations that have continued. I was actually in late 90s hired by the Appalachian Mountain Club to do conservation-based development. Again, trying to bring the communities together to consider the new economy that was starting to develop as our woods industry was declining. That also provided opportunities for community engagement. Certainly Maine West and the Northern Forest Center and the Mahoosic Way are also now engaged in guided efforts to bring the community together. So that's the sort of the connection between the past and the present. I did no community engagement at the time. I did not try to ask people ahead of time to come to the meeting to try to buy that property. We're in a very different place right now. We're in a place where towns recognize that for their future, for a number of different reasons, we need to cooperate among towns. Whereas even Mahoosic Land Trust had a hard time getting some traction in the early years, there was distrust about what the motivation of Mahoosic Land Trust was. It is now a respected organization that is providing wonderful educational programs and protecting some of our most important natural heritage. I'm just delighted to be involved with the town of Woodstock and seeing the support that I'm getting. I think this project is going to be successful. And it's because of the efforts of all of you and all the organizations that have been involved over the years in doing work that benefits our community. And it's not just environmental protection, it's understanding the connections between environmental protection, between healthy lifestyles, between the economy. All those factors are really the result of getting us to a place where we have just extraordinary support. I would be remiss if I didn't at least make sure that all of you knew that we do still need your contributions at whatever levels you want to contribute. It doesn't matter whether it's $5, $10, or $1,000. Foundations are really very mindful, and we will be applying to a number of foundations, are very mindful of wanting to see broad community support, not just large donors. So if you go to the Mahoosic Land Trust webpage, you'll have an opportunity to see an extraordinary video that's been produced, and please contribute. So I think I'm good on that. I'll entertain any questions if anyone has.
Becky?
It's not a question, it's just a comment. And I just want to say you made my day and pretty much my life, because my parents were part of NTL. And I've just returned to the area, purchased a home a year ago in Bethel. And I'm just so heartened by what you're saying. And I'm so appreciative that you have hung in there all this time doing all this. I'm looking at the backdrop behind your head, which is a tapestry of a tree, and just seeing how your ideas reached out and are bearing fruit. And just thank you. You've inspired me, and I will definitely make a donation.
Great.
That's a great observation on the tapestry behind Marcel's head.
This is actually not my home. I'm participating from Boulder Creek, California, in the heart of the redwood country. So there are extraordinary trees out here. This is just a nice tapestry on the wall.
Well, my sister, who is part of the property and part of the legacy and everything else, is in California as well. So I'll be quiet now, but it all connected, right?
Vern, did you want to weigh in? I see.
Yeah,
I don't need to put you on the spot.
I did want to say thank you to Marcel for that great report. also thank you for all he's done for the town of Woodstock through the years, and it's been such a pleasure to be part of this purchase of the Bucks Ledge property. I think it's going to be a great thing for our town and for the area for years to come.
Any other questions, comments? And again, we'll have some space after 12:30 to circle back around to some further conversation if folks are inclined, but we could try to take one more question or comment if anyone has one. And in lieu of that, again, I will say on behalf of all of us, thank you again, Marcel, for sharing and for leadership you're offering on this project. It's great. We're excited to be involved. And with that, I will hand it over to Bonnie from Local Food Connection to give us some update on what's going on with local farms, agriculture, and food production.
Well, thanks. First, I'll tell you a little bit about the Local Food Connection, because that may be something you haven't heard much about. At least a decade ago, and I don't have an exact year, Amy Scott, who's actually in the screen next to me on my screen, started a very loosely organized group to come together monthly and talk about local food, because we all thought it was important, but we hadn't really thought about the details of that yet. And we did that for several years. Merrill Kelly then headed up the Local Food Connection for some more years. And then I took over 5 or 6 years ago. And I've just been passionate about this. Our goal is to build a thriving local food system in Western Maine, and to connect, as our name says, Local Food Connection, to connect all the different people and organizations that are part of this system. And that is happening. We are still very loosely organized because there are so many highly organized groups all through the Western Maine region, and ours has stayed fairly loose. So if you are a person with a passion about local food, let me know, and you're welcome to join in with us. Through the Local Food Connection, I got involved in the Maine network of community food councils, which you might be interested to know is a statewide network of more than a dozen food councils, everywhere from Portland to Lewiston, Auburn to Bangor to Norway and to little tiny Bethel, Maine. We're probably the smallest of the councils on that group, and I am on the lead team of that group. So what that allows for me is that I hear about the efforts going on all over the state, and we all share the values of a thriving local food system, and we're all working toward that. And there's some exciting things happening all over the place. So it's been fun to hear about statewide policies. Right now, the government in place is very much proactive about local food and about how local food is being affected by climate change. The Governor's Climate Council has been very focused on how can we, as the climate changes, make a stronger, more resilient local food system. Because you all know, I don't have to tell you the statistics about how much of our food comes from so far away and how much of our food is very processed and probably not something that either you or I are eating right now. So local food has become more and more important to all of us. That the present governor and her climate council have also made available quite a lot of federal and state funding that could be helping farmers. And this is kind of where Amy asked if I could jump into this idea of what do the farmers want and what do they need to be better farmers and to be able to provide for more of our needs. So I took this on as a challenge to find out what our local farmers need, how they can become more prosperous and more sustainable, and how that will make our Western Maine food system thrive. As you know, Maine, well, you probably don't, maybe you don't know, Maine is the only state right now that is seeing a growth in the number of farmers in our state. Young farmers are coming into Maine. They want to farm. They're idealistic, they're passionate, and they have the energy still and the drive to be good farmers. So that is happening largely along the coast and a bit inland, but it's not so much happening in Western Maine, although it is beginning to happen. So the first thing that I started to learn about was all the different ways a farm looks in Western Maine. We have such a variety of farms and farmers. I threw together a questionnaire that I've been using, and what I've been doing is basically going from farm to farm and talking to the farmers at their kitchen tables with my little questionnaire to keep me on track about what's farming like for you right now, and how are you making your money, and how what are the problems, how do you keep yourselves going? Do people have to work off the farm in order to make ends meet? Do you have to hire in people? Are you having trouble finding people to hire in? What are your favorite crops? What are your favorite parts of farming? What are the parts that you hate, like bookkeeping? So this has been and continues to be really exciting. And as we work our way through the questionnaire, when we get to the end, my last question is, wait a minute. Looking into the future, what dreams and plans do you have for making your farm more successful? And that's where we start to really come up with the ideas of things that the farmers think would help them. Some things that I've learned that most every farmer has in common: they hate meetings. I'm going to guess there's not a farmer on here right now. They do not like to go to meetings, and they would much prefer to be outside, and they probably are all outside even though it's snowing. They love the outdoors. They love the freedom and the autonomy that comes with being a farmer. Whether they are a 2-acre vegetable garden or a 4-acre orchard or a 250-acre mixed crop farm, they love the autonomy and the freedom that comes with that job. They dislike bookkeeping, but everyone that I've talked to so far has come to terms with that. They have figured out what they need to do for their farm. Ed Swain said yesterday, "I don't do computers." But he knows how to keep his books, and he keeps them very, very meticulously. So my goal in doing these interviews is and was to come up with ideas or projects that we could get grant money for that would actually truly help farmers. And then we have people like Amy, like Mike's staff, I think, who would write these grants if we could figure out, sometimes the grant writers are different people and they don't know what would really be helpful. So they try to come up with something that they think the farmers might need, but they're not always right. So in this case, we're trying to come up with things that the farmers would want and need and could use. One of the points that several people made to me is that, as you all know, prices are going up right now, and they're going up for farmers. And they're looking at ordering in the spring. They're ordering right now. They're ordering their seeds, they're ordering their lime, they're ordering their fertilizers. And the prices are going up, and this is very hard for them to cope with. They have to make hard decisions about, can I farm as much of my land? Can I, all of those decisions. And they started talking about the idea of a farmers co-op. Could we find a way to do some mass ordering in Western Maine, just our Western Maine group of farmers, do some mass ordering and mass delivery to a centralized place from which farmers could pick up what they've ordered? And that would help not only small farmers, but large farmers as well. So that was one of the brilliant ideas that I discovered. a couple others. While I was brushing my teeth before this meeting, I came up with an idea myself that I thought might help them. And that would be a beautifully printed brochure listing with pictures in color all of the farms that we can accumulate in our little Western Maine area, so that people from away could pick it up at the chamber or at their bed and breakfast, and would know, where could I go to just visit a farm? I think this is very doable and not very expensive. Some of you may have experienced the Art and Agriculture Tour last fall. That was a collaboration with Local Food Connection and others, and people loved it. People came from all over, many locals visited. We had 6 farms on the tour. Each farm had at least 2 artists, maybe more. And the artists did well that day. The farmers did well that day. And the social interaction with masks outdoors was very, very productive for everybody. And those connections continue. So that's going to happen again next year. If Jessie were here, she would say we're going to have the Art and Ag. I know I'm going over now. I'm going to stop. Art and Ag Tour will be on a Sunday, as it was last September. And then through that whole week, we'll have agriculture related activities leading up to the Harvest Fest on the Bethel Common at the end of that week on Saturday. So we're really excited about that. And the farmers are excited to be a part of that again. And we'll have new and different farms that wanted to be on it last year, and now they're going to be on it. So that's what we're doing. And my takeaway is, buy from local farms, go out to their farm stands, go to their farmers markets, buy their food. That will make all the difference.
Thanks, Bonnie. That's a great sharing of all the stuff that's going on. And again, really appreciate your work to support all this other work going on in the area. Any quick questions for Bonnie before we move towards kind of end of the formal program? And again, we'll have a little bit more time after that, but any quick follow-up questions for Bonnie?
I have a question. Given the high cost of land, what can we do to encourage more young farmers to come to Western Maine?
That's a tough one. And land is precious. Some farmers are working on putting easements on their land so that the price of the land would not be the development price of the land, but more the farming price of the land. We're working with Maine Farmland Trust, who are they're the experts in this area. They also want to work with older farmers who are looking at how to make the transition and keep their farm a farm and have younger farmers with energy on the farm. That's been some of my conversation.
Thank you.
Becky, did you have a quick question?
I just wanted to make sure Bonnie knew how to use chat, because I sent you over a couple chats, so I just wanted to look for
Thank
them.
you. Yes.
Great. Well, I'm going to move us towards wrapping up the formal part of the program, but again, we can stick around for another 15 minutes once we've closed that. And just want to just partly note that having these 2 conversations around creation of the Bucks Ledge Community Forests about local food connections, I think this is not typically what we think of when we think about convening a conversation around tourism in Bethel and the Mahoosic area. But I think I think these are the kinds of examples of the really deep community work that needs to be happening to ensure that as the tourism economy continues to develop in the area, that it's really doing that in a way that works for both visitors and local residents. The idea of conserving special places, stewarding the environment, that includes, the community forest is an obvious example. That includes supporting and sustaining local farms and working forest and farm landscapes. And again, we think about the food and we've got the farmers out there, but that's also a potential connection to local restaurants and visitor experience, which creates economic opportunity for the farmers. And again, increasingly is a draw for visitation. So these are the kinds of conversations we want to be having to think about, really truly thinking about a sustainable tourism economy in the region. So again, with that, I will offer a final informal thank you to Marcel and Bonnie for your work and your presentations. And I also, I just put something in the chat. I provided a link to the Mahoosakwe website where you can take the Embrace Our Place pledge for those of you who have not done that yet. We encourage you to do that, and just as a way of demonstrating your commitment to supporting sustainable tourism development in the Mahoosakwe region. So with that, unless anyone has any final logistical things that I have forgotten about, we will wrap the formal program. So anyone who needs to or is inclined to jump off, please feel free to do that. And if you're inclined to stick around for a few minutes and have other questions or points you want to bounce around with Marcel and Bonnie, please do. So with that, we will conclude our agenda and carry on from here. And if everyone wants to stay, that's fine too.
I just want to jump in to say I put just a little note about the Boondocks Buying Club, which is one way to purchase from local producers as well as producers from across Maine. And I noticed that Henry List jumped on the call, and I don't know if Henry wants to say any more about that, but I mean, Bonnie can too. But I just wanted to mention it because it's another avenue besides, actually going out to our local farm stands.
For sure. Oh, there's Henry.
There's Henry.
You want to talk?
Thank you. And Bonnie, great presentation. Really exciting to hear about everything and your conversations with the farmers. I wish I had been a fly on the wall to be able to listen to some of them. I think, we're at Boondocks, we're just trying to fill the other half of the loop, which is once the food gets off the farms, how can we easily get it to folks locally? And so we're looking for conversations around that, anything, suggestions folks have, and working into some kind of co-op, I think is a wonderful idea. And I look forward to exploring that more. So check out Boondocks if you haven't. And if you have ideas about that end of the marketing piece to get the products easily from farm to the table, let me know, or Bonnie. Thanks.
Other questions, comments, general chatting folks want to do? Becky? Yes, Becky.
I want to give other people a chance though. I've spoken before. Is there somebody else who want? I just didn't want it to get shut off before I.
You're the hand.
Okay. Three's the charm. Anyway, Bonnie and Henry and Amy, I wanted to ask, as someone who comes and goes from Bethel at the moment, still based in Connecticut till my husband retires probably in a couple of years. So does the Boondocks Buying Club allow for, you to buy sort of on a one at a time basis, or do you have to sign up for, 6 months, 8 months? Like, can I buy when I'm in town or when I know I'll be in town?
Good question. And yes, you can, we go on a 2-week rotation. So an order opens every 2 weeks, and then delivery is the Friday before the order opens up again. So it's a regular scheduled date for pickup. So although we've been able to make arrangements for folks to work around that are coming and going at different schedules. But we encourage anybody that's here. We have folks that are here, sporadically. And we have folks that are here seasonally. So they all seem to be able to work it into their schedule.
Yeah, Becky, the other thing is there's a lot of local food, local farmers on the Boondocks. It's a computer program that you order from. So you could order from Connecticut even. And a lot of the product and the farmers are local. And we put them first
Yeah.
so that everyone would see them first.
Excellent. I also just want to, well, I can,
Sorry,
well,
go
it might
ahead.
be a little hard for me to put in the chat, so I'll just throw it out there verbally. But I was just gonna, as someone who, so the house I purchased in Bethel also has 25 acres of land behind it. I chatted Bonnie that I am interested in getting that land into agriculture for local consumption. And, but meantime, I've been trying to rehab the house. And so I'm just putting out there just, it's not specifically on topic, but as a community forum here, I am looking for some help with a few contractors that are not following through, and I can't move forward till I get the house livable and rentable and can get some income to invest in the next stage and project. So if anybody on this chat would like to connect with me later, I'll put my email address in the chat, and I would appreciate some local help with that. I try to get up there once a month, and a lot has been done, but it's just, we need to push through to the last little bit here. So thank you.
I just wanted to say I had an opportunity to look at the
You're still
Boondocks.
mute.
Oh,
Oh, you're good.
I had an opportunity to look at the Boondocks order list the other day for the first time. I was also involved in the development, founding of the Fair Share Food Co-op over 40 years ago in Norway now. And that started as essentially a bulk ordering co-op. It has shifted into a retail store. And I can't tell you how impressed I was at the amount, the breadth of suppliers and different kinds of produce and products that you could buy in Boondocks. I was very happy to see that. It's extraordinary.
Bonnie, I had a question. Just to what degree do you feel like local farms are connecting with local restaurants? Like, is that happening much? Do you see opportunity there?
It is happening, yes. And I think it's, again, every farm is different, that they offer is different, but they are all, they know that that's a market, and they would like to be. The pandemic has really thrown a monkey wrench into that over the last 2 years. And a lot of the contracts that people had before disappeared. And so I think as we get our handle on the pandemic, that will begin to come back as well.
And is your sense that restaurants are receptive to that and looking for that
Yes,
opportunity?
yes, absolutely.
Great. Anything else? Seeing no one going off mute right now, I'm inclined to make last call for any final comments, and I think we can wrap up.
Yeah, so, and then we'll just.
Thank you, Bonnie. Thanks, Marcel.
Yeah.
Thanks everyone
Thanks.
for jumping on too.
Yes, thank you all of you for listening.
All right. Well, again, thanks everyone for your good work, and we'll see you next month. Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
And the non-US taxes was the next stop.
Marcel, can you, oops. Help. Can you have, I don't have your address, you have mine. So either I'm going to count on you to reach out to me, or I'll send it to me now and I'll write it down quick. Wait, you're muted. You're muted.
I'm
there.
just so excited to meet you, Eddie, and your parents
Edie.
were your parents were so important. So
Well, I thought they were. They're pretty important to my life, but
I mean, that NTL conference was just really, really It's why we're where we are so far in Bethel.
Yeah.
Really.
They would be very happy to hear that. They would be very happy to hear that. I'm sure they are hearing that. I'm very happy.
I
You know,
believe-
they're buried up there, actually. They're
Oh.
buried in Bethel, so.
Wow, and Edie, I think your mother was from Brooklyn, right?
No, she was from New Jersey, but she thought
Jersey.
of herself as a New Yorker.
Okay, okay.
And
Is-
my father, who came from the Midwest, thought of himself as a Mainer, so there you are.
Wow, great connection.
I won't keep Mike and Isabel, we'll connect.
Uh,
Glad to meet you.
Thank you,
But-
Isabella, for keeping that open for a couple minutes.
Thank you.
Bye.
Okay.
Great to see everyone.